All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and great glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and salutations to the elect pushing this truth to the four corners of the earth in truth and sincerity. In this particular video, we're going to be giving a news update, and I don't want to make this too long. I want to grab a few scriptures, play this video, and wrap it up. But as you can see, it says the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, controls 40% of Gaza City. U.S. blames France for failure of talks with Hamas. Right. So this whole thing going on with Israel versus Palestine, and they basically are committing a genocide over there with the Palestinian people, whatever. And you have a lot of these nations coming out and saying, hey, that's wrong what they're doing, and they blame Israel and the U.S. for what they're doing over there. All right, and one of those people being France, and also the UK. These are two allies of America. They're part of NATO, and they are nuclear powers. You see? So that's why this information is important, because we're seeing prophecy jump off the page. What prophecy? Well, this reminds me of Jeremiah 50, 9, and you go to 14, where it talks about all ye that bend the bow will shoot their nukes on America. Because one might say, well, you're saying everybody that has nuclear capability is going to shoot America, but America allies is France and the UK. So how are they going to shoot their nukes on America? Well, that's the prophecy. Something is going to happen. And they're not going to side with America anymore. And we're seeing that thing happen right now. That France and the UK show their disapproval of what's going on over there in Gaza. As a matter of fact, they came out and said that they had a meeting, and they said they will recognize a Palestinian state. So now you have America saying that doesn't mean anything, that was fake, and they're just going to make shit harder for the Gazan people. So, boom, that's what's happening right now, is driving a wedge between allies, being America and France and the UK. You see? So this right here is a prophecy jumping off of the page right here, man. As a matter of fact, before we hop into the video, let me get Revelation 17:15. So Revelation 17:15. And we read now. So let me see. 16. And we read. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So this is talking, the beast is NATO and the EU. And that whore is talking about America. It says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. You see? It's America losing its allies, man. And we seeing that happen right now.
Operation Gideon Chariots, which has now...
Let me bring out that Jeremiah before I hop into this. It's Jeremiah 50. Start at 9, and we'll go to 14. We read, for lo, I will rise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. And this is getting into Russia. North from Israel is Russia. All right. And we see things spicing up right now between Russia and America. Russia just linked up with China, India, and North Korea. And just China and India alone is over 3 billion people. And they're getting together and mobilizing to do something with, the U.S., man. Because don't forget, Russia's about had it with United States, because United States will blame Iran for using Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah as a proxy to go to war with Israel, because, that's one of its allies or whatever. But then it'll use Ukraine as a proxy to go to war with Russia, and giving them weapons and different capabilities to strike deep into Russia, long-range missiles. And so they about had it, man. Isaiah 13, it tells you how the Medes, when it's getting to the Medes, it's talking about the Russians right there. They shall not regard gold or silver. And I'm loosely quoting it, you know. The list of the Lord will stir up the Medes, and they shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it, something like that. But right, they won't be able to get paid off. They're going to get pissed off to a point that they're not going to want to negotiate. There will be no, well, let's go to the round table and talk. They're just going to seek the destruction of America. And we see these things taking place right now. And we read, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, which is talking about those nukes, shall be of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. All of them going to hit their mark. Let's go down to 14. Put yourselves in array against Babylon, which is America, round about, all ye that bend the bow. It's talking about all the nations that has nuclear capabilities. The modern day bow and arrow will be those nuclear silos. That would be the bow. And it projects what? The arrow, which is the nuclear missile. So that's the modern day broken arrow. It says shoot at her. And the reason I'm getting this is because France and United Kingdom are nuclear powers. You see? So one might say, well, that's not, they're allies. So how are they going to shoot nukes? Well, the scripture is telling you that they're going to lose their allies. And then all ye that bend the bow will shoot their nukes upon America. So obviously they're going to have a falling out. Right? Prophecy, man. To say before. Continuing. Shoot at her. Spare no arrows. 100% of them arrows going to be shot over here. For she has sinned against Yahweh. You see? Oh, man.
Chariots, which has now entered its second phase, focuses on dismantling Hamas' grip over Gaza City.
In recent weeks, we began Phase 2 of Operation Gideon's Chariots. This week, we began mobilizing tens of thousands of reservists to advance the strikes against Hamas in Gaza City. The reservists serve as reinforcement support for the conscripted troops and are currently operating together with the troops on the ground. As part of the expansion of Operation Gideon's Chariots, IDF troops under the Southern Command are operating inside Gaza City. Troops from the 99th Division, including the combat teams of the Nahal Brigade and the 7th Brigade, are operating in the Zayden area, while Division 162 troops, including the combat teams of the 401st Brigade and the Javadi Brigade, are operating on the outskirts of the Sheikh Radwan neighborhood, the northern neighborhood of Gaza City.
The IDF to reveal that Israeli forces have already secured roughly 40% of the city, a significant step in Israel's broader campaign.
Today, we have operational control of 40% of Gaza City. The operation will continue to expand and intensify in the coming days. Hamas will face the IDF in full power in Gaza City. We will increase the pressure on Hamas until its decisive defeat. We will continue to pursue them everywhere. The IDF will continue to expand the strikes against Hamas in Gaza City. In the coming days, the mobilization of reservists.
This is going to infuriate Iran as well. Because don't forget, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, these are proxies of Iran. Right? What started off that 12-day war, the reason that got bad was because the IDF went over there and assassinated damn near all of Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran, right? And so that after that happened, Iran shot over 180 plus ballistic missiles on Israel, and then they started trading shots back and forth, and then eventually, it quieted down, and then eventually it hiked back up, and then went back to war. But, hey, I was just bringing up the fact that when they are striking their proxies, it pisses Iran off. And we saw what happened last time. Come on, man.
will continue. I want to address the reservists and their families. We are aware of the burden placed upon you for almost 2 years. We will act to allow breathing room alongside the continued operation. The determination and spirit you bring with you enable the IDF to continue carrying out its missions. We all salute you. The mission is not yet complete. We will continue to operate professionally and with responsibility in all arenas of operation until all the war's objectives are achieved. First and foremost, the return of the hostages and the dismantling of Hamas rule.
Meanwhile, in an exclusive interview with the popular Israeli Telegram channel called AliExpress, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that Hamas faces 2 clear options from which it must choose.
There are 2 options, either capitulation or annihilation. I'm talking about Hamas, not the civilian population. Either surrender or annihilation. If Plan A doesn't work, we will turn to Plan B, annihilation.
And that's what they want anyway, man. Because it's already been leaked. You know, you got certain videos out there on what they really think and what they feel and what they're doing. They say we're sending aid over there to the Palestinian people. Nah, they really blocking the aid, starving them people out. And don't get us wrong. We talk about this, but we don't give a fuck about these Israelis or the so-called Palestinians. All right? We don't care about none of them niggas, man. But anyway, right, they're seen slamming the babies, you know, on the floor, killing them, shooting little boys, lining them up, shooting all of them, telling them to go to the hospitals and bombing the hospitals, you know, all manner of shit they doing over there. So they said, no, nothing against the population. Yeah, you want to get all those people. You said that, you know, there's really no difference than killing an animal. I heard an Israeli dude say that, the J, he said, you know, cats, dogs, pigs, you know, them. So they look at niggas like animals and insects, like stepping on a cockroach, you know. So that was a lie right there. The videos out there prove that, you know.
While underscoring Israel's unwavering determination to eradicate the Islamist Hamas throughout the Gaza Strip, Prime Minister Netanyahu asserted that he is keen on ending the war as quickly as possible, stating that once war concludes, opportunities for peace could be renewed.
My intention is to end the war as quickly as viable possible, which demands the move that we are undertaking. When that happens, I believe that the bottleneck for additional opportunities, to include Saudi, and with many additional countries, including Muslim countries outside of our region.
Turning to international developments, Britain, France, Canada, Australia, and Belgium have all said they will recognize a Palestinian state at the United Nations General Assembly later this month. When asked whether Israel would respond by asserting Jerusalem's sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, Prime Minister Netanyahu clarified that the entire campaign for recognition was instigated by the Palestinian Authority, which is in breach of understandings and treaties that it had adopted with Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister warned that any unilateral moves would be met with reciprocal Israeli measures.
First, whoever advances this is first and foremost the Palestinian Authority, which stands contrary to the understandings and agreements that were, and which stipulated that these matters would be determined through negotiations. Okay, but if they impose on us a unilateral move, they shouldn't be surprised when we implement unilateral moves accordingly. I won't unveil exactly what we will do.
Turning to Ecuador, where during a joint press conference, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio sharply criticized the country's pledging recognition of a Palestinian state, stressing that their motives are rooted in domestic politics and carry no real impact on the ground. Rubio stressed that Washington had warned its allies that Israel would respond with concrete, unilateral actions, steps with real consequences for the future of the internationally supported two-state framework.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the Palestinian Authority has its own set of problems. Pay for slay. You know, they pay people to kill Israelis. We have problems with them too. Obviously, Hamas is at a different category, but we have problems. Look, we told all these countries, we told them all. We said, if you guys do this recognition stuff, it's all fake. It's not even real. If you do it, you're going to create big problems. There's going to be a response from Israel. You're going to make it harder to get a ceasefire. And it may even trigger these sorts of actions that you've seen, or at least these attempts at these actions. So we're watching it closely. I'm not going to opine on it today, other than to tell you that we predicted this would happen. We warned everybody it would happen. But nonetheless, some of these people decided they wanted to move forward with something that's illusory. Right now, we should be focused on how do we end this war in Gaza? How do you eliminate Hamas? How do you disarm Hamas? That war could end tomorrow if Hamas just disarmed and surrendered and released the 20 hostages, which shouldn't even be there. Would end. Hamas refuses to do that. So, but that said, we don't like the humanitarian suffering. We've offered a lot of aid. We've provided a lot of aid. We're prepared to provide aid now, and we're prepared to provide a lot of aid after the war ends.
Once again, they'll send aid, but then the Israelis will stop that aid from coming in. So those people over there are not really getting nothing like that. And the last time America really flew over there and gave so-called aid to them, they was dropping pallets from the helicopter, and it killed a few it killed a few children, man. Crushed them. So hey.
Well, along with other countries around the world. But as far as what you're
Esau being exposed, man.
seeing with the West Bank and the annexation, that's not a final thing. That's something that's being discussed among some elements of Israeli politics. I'm not going to opine on that today. What I am going to tell you is it was wholly predictable. We told all these countries before they went out and they did this, we told them that if they did this, they went through with this thing, there wasn't going to be a Palestinian state, because that's not the way a Palestinian state is going to happen, because they have a press conference somewhere. And we told them that it would lead to these sort of reciprocal actions, and it would make a ceasefire harder. And by the way, let me tell you,
Secretary Rubio continued by reiterating his frustration with the French announcement of its intention to recognize a Palestinian state, saying it was a key reason the Islamist Hamas walked away from the negotiating table.
the day that the French announced their thing, the thing they did, that day, Hamas walked away from the negotiating table. They immediately increased their demands and walked away and stopped negotiating. So that we also warned that would happen. And it did. So, but sometimes, these guys don't listen. They do what they're going to do because of their own domestic politics, which is fine. But these are consequences of that.
Back in Jerusalem, families of hostages and their support.
But yeah, that's it. So, hey, that's why this news is important, because we see certain things taking place, that's bringing forth prophecy, France showing their disapproval on what's happening right over there with Gaza and saying that they'll recognize a Palestinian state. And they're like, no, they want to take over all of Israel and make it just, a so-called Jewish state. So they're saying that they don't like this whole two-state solution that France and these other people are trying to put together. But anyway, that right there is showing you a little something, because America's going to lose its allies. And then we read in Jeremiah 59, and then skipping to the 14th verse, that everybody that bends the bow will shoot their nukes upon America. So we just seeing prophecy come to pass. Hope it was edifying. Hope you can take something from this. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.